7:13 a.m. to police cruisers parked in my driveway, lights flashing. The lead officer's hand hovered near his belt like he expected trouble. I stood there, coffee mug in hand, the one with the Army Corps of Engineers logo on the property I'd bought 6 months earlier, paid in full, deed and all. 40 feet away stood HOA President Deidre Kensington, arms folded, wearing that smug grin behind oversized designer sunglasses like she'd just hit the jackpot. 4 hours earlier, she'd dialed 911, claiming there was an armed squatter refusing to vacate. Classic swatting move. Except I'm a 54-year-old veteran who just wanted to build a workshop in peace. The morning smelled like cut grass in Deidre's desperation. What she didn't realize was that I had a single document that would completely upend her world. What would you do if someone tried to have you arrested on your own property? Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Let's see how many HOA horror stories are out there. I'm Garrett Hollins. 50-4. Divorced. 2 kids, 1 in med school, 1 in college. 20 years with the Army Corps of Engineers before starting my civil engineering firm here in Tulsa. I don't go looking for fights, I've had more than enough of those overseas. 6 months back, I bought 3.2 acres right at the edge of the Pinewood Estate subdivision. My plan was simple: build a workshop, turn the detached garage into a small machine shop, and have a peaceful space where my kids could visit without bumping into their mom's new boyfriend. The place is stunning. A massive 150-year-old oak dominates the yard, its branches creaking like an old wooden ship when the wind hits just right. Inside my half-finished workshop, it smells of sawdust, oil, and effort. Every surface glints with metal shavings catching the afternoon light. Here's the kicker: when I bought this land, it was outside the Pinewood Estate's whole limits. I had the 2018 survey to prove it. The property line stops 200 feet east of my driveway. I made sure of that before signing, because I've heard the nightmare stories of HOA letters issuing fines for garden gnomes or wrong-colored mailboxes. Pinewood Estates is your typical upper-middle-class neighborhood to 127 homes built between 2015 and 2019, with $385 monthly dues. But just as I finalized my purchase, the HOA quietly filed a boundary correction with the county, dragging my land into their jurisdiction. No notice, no hearing, no certified letter. Just paperwork trickery. That's when I met her, Deidre Kensington, 49, real estate agent, HOA president for the last year and a half. Picture pastel blazers worn like armor and a voice that sounds like a table saw cutting sheet metal. But just as I finalized my purchase, the HOA quietly filed a boundary correction with the county, dragging my land into their jurisdiction. No notice, no hearing, no certified letter. Just paperwork trickery. That's when I met her, Deidre Kensington, 49, real estate agent, HOA president for the last year and a half. Picture pastel blazers worn like armor and a voice that sounds like a table saw cutting sheet metal. A week after I moved in, I got my first certified letter. The paper had that slick, official feel and the stench of entitlement. A $2,500 fine for an unapproved structure, my garage. The same one that existed before the HOA did. I emailed her the survey, my deed, and a legal opinion from a paralegal friend. "I'm not part of your HOA," I wrote. By week 3, Deidre showed up herself, clipboard in hand, designer shades, snapping photos like a detective. She threatened a lien and claimed I was setting a bad precedent. I told her to get off my property. Week 5, another letter. $5,000 fine plus $150 in daily penalties. Mentioned possible foreclosure. I've dealt with insurgents in Fallio who negotiated with more honesty. That night, Ruben brought over a six-pack. He's 60-something and has the HOA pegged. "They're trying to bleed you dry," he said. "Make the fight cost so much, you'll quit." So, I called in a favor of Lucia Brennan, a sharp local attorney in her early 40s. I'd once helped her mom with a drainage issue. Lucia didn't mince words. "Garrett, that's not just unethical. It's fraud." She was right. Deidre had pulled the same stunt with others like Travis and Mallory Kent, a young couple already buried under $8,000 in HOA fines for installing a swing set. That's when it hit me: Deidre wasn't just targeting me. She was running a racket against 127 families. I ignored her letters. Legally, I was in the clear. That's when she went nuclear. Filed a false police report claiming I was trespassing on HOA common property, my own driveway, and had verbally threatened her. Which brings us back to 7:13 a.m. Flashing lights, to cops, and Deidre smirking from a distance. The lead officer introduced himself as Sergeant Pacheco, mid-40s, solid build, calm but watchful. His younger partner looked jittery, scanning the area like we were running a drug ring. I stayed calm, hands visible, coffee mug steady. "Morning, officers," I said. "I'm guessing this is about a call from Deidre Kensington." Pacheco nodded, flipping open his notepad. "We received a report of trespassing on HOA property and a verbal threat against the HOA president." "Your side of it, happy to explain," I said, setting my coffee down. "But first, let me show you some paperwork." I moved slowly, narrating each step, went inside, and came back with a folder of survey, deed, title, insurance, and mail exchanges with Deidre. Even a still from my dashcam showing her trespassing weeks ago. I spread the papers across his cruiser's hood. The metal was still cool, the documents crisp as he flipped through them one by one. He cross-referenced my survey with the county plot map on his phone. 5 minutes passed. Deidre stood behind, radiating fury. Finally, Pacheco looked up. "Ma'am," he called, "this is a civil matter, not criminal trespassing. Mer. Hollins has documentation proving his property boundaries. You'll have to take this to court." Her composure cracked. She stormed forward, snapping, "Excuse me. I pay your salary, and you're telling me you won't enforce this?" Pacheco's tone stayed flat. "Ma'am, I don't enforce HOA bylaws. If you believe there's a violation, hire an attorney." Deidre spun, fuming, and yanked her Lexus door so hard I thought the hinges might snap. She peeled out, tires screaming, leaving the smell of burnt rubber hanging in the morning air. Pacheco watched her leave, then turned back to me, handed me his card. "Off the record, Mr. Hollins, to document everything. Every visit, every letter, every threat. I've seen HOA letters pull this before. Next time, she might take it further. Protect yourself." I nodded and thanked him. The cruisers pulled away, leaving me standing in the driveway with the realization that Deidre had just tried to use law enforcement as a weapon against me. This wasn't about unpaid dues anymore, it was about control, intimidation, and draining me dry through legal fees. I called Lucia Brennan. She picked up on the second ring. I told her everything: the cops, the false report, Sergeant Pacheco's warning. There was a brief pause before she said, "Garrett, that's borderline malicious prosecution. If she's willing to lie to police, she'll lie in court. I'm taking your case. Pro bono for now." Her first move was fast. Lucia fired off a cease and desist letter to the HOA, demanding that all fines and threats be withdrawn. She warned that continued harassment would trigger a lawsuit for malicious prosecution and abuse of process. Then she filed a formal complaint with the county regarding the legal boundary amendment. Under Oklahoma law, HOA letters must send certified mail to all affected property owners before changing boundaries. I never got one, which meant that annexation was null and void. Knowledge nugget number 1: if your HOA ever tries to expand its borders, check your state statutes. Without proper notification, the expansion isn't legally valid. Deidre's reaction was immediate. According to Rubin, she called an emergency board meeting that same afternoon. Her spin: "A squatter is attacking our authority with baseless legal threats. If we cave, no one will pay dues again." The board, for timid yes men afraid to cross her, voted to pursue all legal remedies. Translation: they were doubling down. 2 days later, while I was at the hardware store, Travis and Mallory Kent approached me. She held their toddler, and he looked worn down. "Garrett, we heard you got a lawyer," Travis said. "Can she help us too?" Turns out 9 families were drowning in HOA fines. One elderly couple was on the verge of losing their home over a $12,000 lien that started as $400 in late fees. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about my property line. Deidre was running a full-scale scam on 127 homeowners. That evening, Ruben and I sat on my porch with a couple of beers. "You know what Deidre's problem is," I said. "She's got whole president syndrome, mall cop energy with a clipboard and a grudge," Ruben chuckled. "Now, man. She's got yacht club energy in a kiddie pool subdivision. Thinks she's running the Hamptons when it's just Tulsa, and nobody's impressed." We laughed right up until my phone buzzed. A known number. A photo of my truck at Home Depot earlier that day, captioned, "We're watching." I showed Lucia the message. Her advice was immediate: install cameras everywhere. Thing is, I've dealt with real threats overseas: IEDs, ambushes, people who genuinely wanted me dead. This suburban power trip wasn't going to scare me, but it definitely lit a fire. By week 7, the HOA escalated. They filed a lawsuit in county court, a declaratory judgment to enforce their covenants. Their argument: even if my land was originally outside the HOA, the corrected plat map filed 6 months ago made it legally binding. They'd hired Conrad Trimble, a washed-up strip mall attorney in his 60s who wins cases by intimidation and default judgments. The kind of guy who advertises on bus benches. Lucia countered immediately, a motion to dismiss, plus a counterclaim for fraud, harassment, and abuse of process. Then discovery began. She subpoenaed everything: HOA financials, meeting minutes, communications. That's when the cracks appeared. The corrected plat map hadn't been properly noticed again. No certified mail to affected landowners, under Oklahoma law. That made the annexation void. Knowledge nugget number 2, always verify that legal notices were correctly served. Improper notice can nullify contracts, liens, even lawsuits. Still, Deidre wasn't concerned with legality, she was obsessed with domination. The harassment kicked into overdrive. HOA inspectors, really just Deidre's real estate buddies, started showing up twice a week to photograph my property. One morning, I walked out to find bright orange code violation stickers slapped on my garage door, mailbox, even my truck. They reeked of cheap adhesive and spite, leaving behind gummy residue that took 20 minutes and half a can of WD-40 to clean off. Ruben caught one of them on camera using my trash bins as a makeshift ladder to peek over my fence. Trespassing. So I installed 6 security cameras, uploaded all footage to cloud storage, and started a shared Google Doc to log every interaction, letter, and incident, all time-stamped and cross-referenced. Lucia just smiled and said, "Discovery's a beautiful thing. Let's see how clean their hands are." Spoiler alert, they weren't. Her paralegal uncovered $140,000 missing from HOA accounts, hidden under vague administrative fees and community enhancement consulting. Cross-checking the meeting minutes revealed Deidre's LLC had been paid $18,000 for property management, despite the HOA already paying a professional management company. This wasn't just petty tyranny, it was embezzlement. Mallory Ken hosted a quiet backyard meeting. 11 families came, each with their own horror stories. One couple fined $3,000 for solar panels, which are explicitly protected under Oklahoma law. An elderly widow threatened with foreclosure over $400 in dues that ballooned to $6,000 after fees and legal costs. I suggested forming a coalition, maybe even a class action. Lucia, attending incognito, nodded. "I can work with this." But Deidre got wind of it. Someone's spouse on the board tipped her off. She called another emergency vote and passed a special assessment to $1,000 per month for anyone organizing against the HOA. The notices went out the next day to me, Travis, Mallory, and 4 others. It was extortion disguised as procedure. Late one night, my doorbell camera caught someone spray painting "deadbeat" across my garage door. The footage showed a white Lexus RX in the background, the same one with Deidre's vanity plate, partially visible. I sent the clips to Lucia and Sergeant Pacheco. He replied, "That's vandalism. File a report. I'll make sure patrol units keep an eye on your place." So, I did. I upgraded to 24/7 monitoring. The next morning, the acrid stench of spray paint, sharp, and chemical clings to the air as I scrub my garage door clean. The rough surface snags the rag with every stroke. My daughter texts, "Dad, are you okay?" Mom said you're caught up in some legal mess. I downplay it, but inside, I'm furious. Daedra's games are bleeding into my personal life, warping how my family sees me. Sleep is optional now. I'm up at 3 a.m., cross-referencing documents, tracing timelines, connecting dots. Then Lucia calls. Garrett, she says, I've been digging into property sales in Pinewood Estates. You need to see this. She sends over a spreadsheet. 3 foreclosures in the past 2 years, each one purchased at auction by Daedra's LLC or her board members' family trusts. The purchase prices: 40 to 50% under market value. The pattern's obvious: find the homeowners, drain them with penalties, force foreclosure, then buy cheap and flip for profit. This isn't just embezzlement anymore, it's predatory. Maybe even racketeering. Lucia updates our counterclaim, adding federal RICO charges, and contacts the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission. Daedra's license is now at risk of suspension or revocation. Then Lucia suggests a pivot. Let's take it public, she says. Civil court cases drag on for years, media pressure gets results faster. I hesitate. I'm ex-military. I value privacy. I hate the spotlight. That's when Mallory steps up. I'm a freelance journalist, she says. Let me pitch this to the Tulsa Gazette. News travels fast. Daedra finds out we uncovered the foreclosure scam. She calls an emergency board meeting. The result? A motion to settle, drop all fines, remove the lien, and wipe the slate clean if I sign an NDA and release all claims. Trimble, their lawyer, delivers the offer over Zoom. Your client should take this, Murdoch Hollins. Discovery can get ugly for everyone. I laugh straight into the camera. Tell Daedra I don't negotiate with con artists. See you in court. Inside, though, I know what it means. She's scared. Discovery is hitting home. That night, Ruben comes over with beers. He shakes his head. You realize Daedra runs this whole like a cartel, right? But she probably still thinks she's the hero. I take a long sip. Every villain does, Ruben. Every villain does. Then my phone buzzes a certified mail alert. Not from the HOA, but from a title company. A notice of foreclosure sale. Turns out, the HOA itself is being foreclosed on $1.2 million in unpaid construction loans from 2019. 18 months behind on payments. Auction scheduled in 30 days. My engineer brain kicks in instantly. If the HOA loses its common property, does that dissolve its legal standing altogether? I call Lucia. I think I just figured out how to buy the HOA. Week 10. The HOA slaps a lien on my property, even though the annexation is still under dispute. Trimble argues it's standard procedure during litigation. The judge allows it temporarily. That means I can't refinance or sell. My equity's frozen. Daedra's playing financial hostage-taker now. But the real damage is psychological. She starts a whisper campaign telling neighbors I'm a troublemaker, that I don't respect community standards, on the private Pinewood Estates Facebook group 200 members strong. She posts reminder, and paid dues and fines are everyone's burden. Freeloaders hurt us all. She doesn't have to name me. Everyone knows. 3 neighbors who used to wave now cross the street instead. Then my son calls. Dad, Mom says you're in legal trouble. What's going on? I downplay it again, but inside, the anger burns. So, I do what engineers do, analyze. I start pulling county records on every property sale in Pinewood Estates over the last 5 years. I build my own database, sorting by date, buyer, and price. The same pattern jumps out: 3 foreclosures, all bought by Daedra's LLC or her board's family trusts. 40 to 50% below market. Each flipped within 6 months for a profit between $80,000 and $120,000. This isn't mismanagement. It's organized fraud. At 6 a.m., I call Lucia. If we can prove conspiracy, she says, that's federal RICO, mail fraud, wire fraud, the works. She immediately amends our counterclaim and updates the Real Estate Commission. Daedra's license is officially under investigation. Knowledge nugget number 3, RICO laws aren't just for mobsters. If someone's running an ongoing fraud scheme through an organization, even an HOA, can face federal racketeering charges. That turns a civil case into a criminal one. Lucia doubles down, go public. Civil court's slow, but media pressure hits fast. I hesitate again, ex-military instincts kicking in. I don't like being in the spotlight. But Mallory's confident. Trust me, she says. The Tulsa Gazette eats stories like this for breakfast. We go for it. Deidre gets word that we've documented the entire foreclosure scheme. Another emergency meeting. A new motion, same desperate offer, drop the fines, lift the lien, clean slate. If I sign an NDA and walk away. Trimble appears on Zoom again, expression tight. Mr. Hollins, you might want to reconsider. Discovery can get messy. I just stare at the camera and laugh. Tell Deidre I don't cut deals with fraudsters. See you in court. Lucia can't hide her smile. The settlement offer means she's trapped. We schedule a second community meeting. This time, 22 families show up at twice our first turnout. The VFW hall carries the scent of old polish and burnt coffee. Folding chairs creak as neighbors lean in, searching for a shred of hope. Lucia breaks it down in simple terms. If we can prove the foreclosure pattern was intentional, there's a chance those sales could be avoided. Families might get their homes back. An older woman in the back starts sobbing. I lost mine 2 years ago. Thought I was alone. I rise. You're not. None of us are. Ruben nods in solidarity. Travis jots notes. Mallory records everything. It doesn't feel like a meeting anymore, and it feels like justice catching up. That night, Ruben texts me a screenshot. A fake Facebook profile, Pinewood Truthler, spreading lies. Posts claim I'm a con artist colluding with out-of-state investors to push people out. Doctored photos, falsified paperwork, fake names, the whole smear campaign. My phone erupts with confused messages. Within an hour, Travis traces the IP address. It's coming from Deidre's home network. Mallory writes a follow-up piece, HOA president behind fake social media smear campaign. Screenshots, metadata airtight. Facebook deletes the account. Deidre's credibility collapses overnight. But I know what that really means. She's panicking. Morning of the auction hearing, 7:15 a.m. I'm on my porch, coffee in hand, when Deidre's Lexus stops at the curb. She steps out, no makeup, hair disheveled, first time I've ever seen her without the polished act. Two board members shadow her. She approaches. Garrett, please. I'll resign. We'll drop everything. Just don't buy the property. Let someone neutral have it. Her voice cracks. I set my mug down. Neutral. Like one of your LLC partners who'll flip it and screw over 127 families. She's trembling. You don't understand. If you go through with this, I lose everything: my license, my business, my reputation. I meet her eyes. You should have thought of that before turning this neighborhood into your personal ATM. The air is cool, crisp. The courthouse still smells faintly of last night's rain. Deidre's perfume, normally overpowering, is missing. She smells of stale coffee and fear. By 7:45 a.m., two men in suits approach. One's Trimble's son, also a lawyer. They drop a veiled warning. You sure you want to do this? People who mess with the wrong folks can see their careers dry up fast. I don't flinch. Ex-military calm. Are you threatening me on courthouse property, in front of witnesses? Ruben's nearby. Phone recording. Yeah, are you? They back off. Lucia immediately files a harassment complaint. 8 o'clock sharp, the auction begins. The auctioneer reads the legal description. Opening bid, $850,000. I raise my paddle. $875. Silence. No counter bids. Go in once, twice. Deidre screams from the crowd. This is illegal. He's not even in the HOA. The auctioneer doesn't blink. Ma'am, this is a public auction. Anyone can bid. Sold. To bidder number 7. I hand over the cashier's check and receive the preliminary deed. A TV crew rushes over. How does it feel? I look at the camera. It feels like justice. Standing on the courthouse steps, deed in hand, everything clicks into place. Let me explain what I just bought and why it changes the game. Pinewood Estates shared spaces, the clubhouse, pool playgrounds, entry monuments, and detention ponds are legally owned by the HOA as an entity. 22 acres total. What no one realizes is that back in 2019, when the developer went bankrupt mid-construction, the HOA borrowed $1.2 million to finish the amenities, using those properties as collateral. 5 years of interest-only payments, with a balloon due in 2024. They missed it. The bank foreclosed quietly. Non-judicial foreclosure, no courtroom, just a public notice and sale. Most homeowners never even know. I call Lucia from my truck. She's already connecting the dots. You own the land now, but not the HOA's authority. However, under Oklahoma law, the common area owner can dissolve an HOA if 75% of homeowners agree, or if the HOA is insolvent. I can hear her typing. Proving insolvency is easy: $1.2 million defaulted loan, $200,000 in judgments, $250,000 embezzled. They're bankrupt. Here's the move: prove insolvency, petition the court to dissolve the HOA, then transfer the land to a new community land trust, a nonprofit, democratic, transparent. Everything the HOA was supposed to be. Only problem, I needed $875,000. I had $200,000 saved, 20 years of work. I call my brother Caleb in Texas, a commercial developer. I need a bridge loan for $100,000 fast. Pause. What's the plan? I lay it all out. Another pause. That's the most Garrett thing I've ever heard. I'm in. That leaves $275,000. The next day, Mullery's article drops in the Tulsa Gazette. HOA president accused of fraud as neighborhood faces foreclosure. It's damning. It goes viral. Local TV picks it up by noon. Oklahoma City stations by night. Reddit front page by morning. I set up a GoFundMe, Save Pinewood Estates, Stop HOA Corruption. Goal: $250,000 for the auction gap plus legal fees. Within 72 hours, $180,000 raised. Donations pouring in from all over the country. People who fought their own HOA letters and want to see one finally fall. People who despise injustice. People who recognize their own battles in this story. Deidre reads the article. Her phone starts blowing up. Board members begin resigning. Homeowners call for her removal. She scrambles to hold emergency meetings to halt the auction, but it's out of her hands now. The bank controls the process. Trimble walks away. I don't represent criminals. Find new counsel. Lucia connects me with a nonprofit lawyer who specializes in community land trusts. Together, we draft the charter for Pinewood Commons Trust. Its mission: maintain shared spaces, enforce fair standards, no petty rules, complete transparency. 7 elected board seats. 2-year limits, open meetings. Live-streamed sessions. Everything in HOA was supposed to be but never was. Knowledge nugget. Community Land Trust (CLT) is a legal model where the land is owned collectively and run democratically. It prevents both HOA abuse and real estate gentrification. Look up the CLT framework for your state. The auction's in 18 days. Financing secure. Legal plan ready. The neighborhood's rallying behind us. But Lucia warns me. Garrett, she's backed into a corner. I nod. I've fought enough battles to know the most dangerous moment is right before the enemy breaks. 2 days later, I'm in my workshop when my phone buzzes. Detective Morrison from the DA's office. Mr. Holland, we've reviewed the evidence your attorney submitted. A warrant's being issued for Deidre Kensington, and charges include felony embezzlement, fraud, and perjury. Do you know her whereabouts? I don't. She vanished after the auction. Her house is up for sale $50,000 below market. We'll find her, Morrison says. In the meantime, increase your security. People staring at prison time can be unpredictable. I upgrade to full 24/7 surveillance. Ruben offers to keep an eye on the property. The court hearing is tomorrow, the dissolution petition. Deidre's been invited. Something tells me she won't appear, but if she does, I'll be ready. The next 2 days are all logistics. I'm not fighting alone anymore. I've built a team, every member vital. Lucia Brennan leads the legal operations, auction filings, dissolution petitions, and trust coordination. Her tactics are surgical, prove the HOA's debt outweighs its assets, expose embezzlement, and show homeowner support for dissolution. Under Oklahoma Statute Title 47, Section 11 to 109, if the common property owner petitions and the HOA is insolvent, the court can dissolve it. The law's on our side. Mallory Kent runs the media front, publishes to follow-up stories, attracts a California documentary producer, and keeps public attention surging. Every social share brings more donors. The GoFundMe's at $210,000 now. Ruben Cortez handles ground operations, tracking board reactions, easing homeowner anxiety, and reminding me to eat something besides caffeine. Travis Kent is our tech brain, builds a secure website for the future trust, sets up transparent budgets, uploads meeting minutes within 48 hours, and streams everything live. He manages both the GoFundMe and encrypted communications for our coalition. Caleb, my brother in Texas, wires $400,000 and advises on asset protection post-purchase. Sergeant Pacheco, our security contact, warns if she wipes servers or destroys evidence, that's obstruction. Document everything. Now, here's the legal roadmap in plain English. Step 1, I won the auction, so I legally own the HOA's common property. Step 2, Lucia files to prove insolvency, $1.2 million in defaulted loans, $200,000 in judgments, and $250,000 embezzled. Step 3, petition the court to dissolve the HOA. A receiver will manage the shutdown. Step 4, transfer the property into Pinewood Commons Trust for $1. A symbolic act that places ownership in a homeowner-run nonprofit. One home, one vote, and no proxies. Takeaway: in most states, a bankrupt HOA is a house of cards, one strong legal push and it collapses. Check your state's nonprofit dissolution laws. You may have more power than you think. We prepare for Daedra's next move. Lucia warns she'll try to delete files, move money, anything to block us. Travis scrapes the whole website with the Wayback Machine, archives every page. Lucia subpoenas the bank records before Daedra can shuffle funds. Mallory interviews 3 ex-board members. Their signed affidavits confirm Daedra's scheme. Community preparation becomes essential. I rent the VFW hall and host 3 town meetings over the week. Attendance snowballs: 50 families the first night, then 82, then over 100. I lay out the future. Once the HOA dissolves, dues drop to 0 temporarily. The new trust will take over. We'll vote on fair contributions, maybe $45 a month. For maintenance, landscaping, insurance. No more ridiculous fines for garden decor. No more mailbox color policing. No more. Daedra. The VFW hall smells like hot coffee and optimism now. The folding chairs still squeak. But this time, people lean back smiling, asking genuine questions instead of breaking down. An elderly man raises his hand. What if someone else had outbid you? I answer honestly. They'd have raised dues or sold the land off piece by piece. We got lucky, but luck only matters if you're ready. We cover every scenario. What if we win dissolution? The HOA ceases to exist. The trust takes over. What if a speculator had won the auction? Expect exploitation. How do we vote for dissolution? Simple majority once insolvency's confirmed. The room's filled with neighbors who've been beaten down for years. Now, they finally believe change is possible. One woman stands. My husband and I almost lost our house over $1,800 in fines. We stopped sleeping. Stop talking to anyone. You're giving us our lives back. Her voice cracks. I don't have words, I just nod. Ruben squeezes my shoulder. This is why we fight. We also run financial literacy sessions. Knowledge nugget number 2, foreclosure auctions. Most people don't realize that in states like Oklahoma, Texas, California, and Arizona, non-judicial foreclosures don't require lawsuits, just public notice. You can literally buy property on courthouse steps with a cashier's check. Research trustee sale rules where you live. Knowledge nugget number 3, community land trusts, a collective, democratic ownership models that stop HOA abuse and block gentrification. Search CLT for your area. The night before the hearing, I'm in my workshop, the lathe quietly spinning. I'm not crafting anything, just letting my hands move while my thoughts settle. I think about why I'm doing this. Not revenge. Not even Daedra anymore. It's about systems that should protect people, not crush them. My ex once told me I was too mission-focused. Maybe she was right. But this mission matters. I text my kids, "Big day tomorrow." "Wish me luck." My daughter replies, "Dad, we're so proud. Go be the hero we know you are." My son sends a Captain America gif. I can't help but smile. Ruben shows up with 2 beers for after the hearing. Win or lose, he says I crack one open. If we lose, I'll need something stronger. He grins. Got tequila in the truck, brother. The hearing's at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I've got the documents, the strategy, the team. Daedra's invited, but she probably won't appear. If she does, Lucia's ready for her. Still, one thought lingers: Lucia's warning, cornered animals are dangerous. Daedra's staring down prison time, bankruptcy, and public disgrace. What's her play now? I double-check the locks. Reinforce my cameras. Keep my phone beside the bed. Because I know this truth from experience: the most dangerous point in any fight is right before your opponent realizes they've already lost. And tomorrow, Daedra will learn exactly that. At 4 p.m., the day before the hearing, Lucia calls. Trimble files an emergency injunction on behalf of concerned homeowners, trying to stall the dissolution, claiming it violates residents' rights. I glance at my watch. How fast can you get to the courthouse? Lucia's already driving. 20 minutes. Emergency hearing, 6 p.m., Judge's chambers. Fluorescent lights buzz overhead. Trimble walks in looking drained. Turns out he never actually quit, he just told Daedra he did while continuing to cash her checks. His argument is a mess, citing imaginary covenants and irrelevant Arizona case law that doesn't apply in Oklahoma. Lucia dismantles his claim in under 10 minutes. Your Honor, this is a transparent attempt to delay justice by individuals facing active fraud charges. The bank had full authority to foreclose. And Mr. Holland lawfully purchased the property. Any postponement only prolongs community harm. Judge Vickers, mid-50s, a former public defender with zero tolerance for nonsense, peers over her glasses. Counsel, your injunction is denied. This court will not interfere with a lawful foreclosure. We're adjourned. Gavel down. The metallic slam of the courtroom door echoes down the marble hall. Daedra storms out. That night, a fake Facebook account appears, Pinewood Truth Teller. Posts flood the neighborhood group, accusing me of being a con artist working with California investors to gentrify and displace families. Doctored LLC papers, fabricated names, all going viral. My phone won't stop buzzing. Is this true? Are you selling us out? Within an hour, Travis traces the IP back to Daedra's home network. Mallory writes a follow-up piece, HOA president behind fake social media smear. Screenshots, metadata, timestamps, all included. Facebook deletes the account by morning. Daedra's reputation collapses. 7:15 a.m., hearing day. I'm on my porch when her Lexus pulls up. She steps out, no makeup, hair unkempt, armor gone. 2 board members trail behind her like hostages. Her heels click against the pavement as she approaches, voice trembling. Garrett, please. I'll resign. Drop this. Don't go through with it. Let someone neutral buy the property. I set my coffee down. Neutral. Like your LLC partners who flip homes for profit. Her hands shake. You don't understand. If you do this, I lose everything: my business, my license, my name. I meet her eyes. You should have thought of that before you turned 127 families into your personal ATM. The morning air is crisp. The usual cloud of her perfume is gone, replaced by the faint scent of stale coffee and fear. I made mistakes, she whispers, but ruining me won't fix anything. I'm not ruining you, I tell her quietly. I'm making sure you never ruin anyone else. She freezes, then turns and walks to her car, not peeling out, just rolling away slow, like she's heading to a funeral. 7:45 a.m. Courthouse steps. Two men in suits approach. One's Trimble's son, a lawyer. The other looks like hired muscle. They stand too close. Mr. Holland, the younger one says, voice low. You sure about this? People who cross the wrong folks sometimes find their permits delayed, their clients gone. Business dries up. You understand, I'm ex-army. I've faced worse than this. Are you threatening me on courthouse property in front of witnesses? Ruben's nearby, phone already recording. Yeah, he says evenly. Are you? They exchange nervous glances, realizing they've overplayed their hand. Just friendly advice, the son mutters, backing off. Lucia's already filing a harassment complaint before we even step inside. The courtroom's packed at 60 homeowners, a full gallery, 3 news crews. Mallory's live tweeting. Energy crackles. Our side, Lucia, my nonprofit attorney, Caleb, Ruben, Travis. And Mallory plus 20 homeowners HOA side, empty table, 3 miserable board members sit in. The back, 9 o'clock a.m. Judge Vickers enters. Everyone rises. Then the doors burst open. Deidre strides in with a kid who can't be older than 28, her new lawyer, probably hired an hour ago. Black suit, severe bun, sunglasses indoors. Funeral attire. Deidre sits, eyes down. The tension is electric. Lucia begins the hearing with precision. Point 1. The HOA is insolvent, $1.2 million in debt, 0 assets after foreclosure, funds embezzled. Point 2. Fraud verified by forensic audit, $240,000 missing, hidden accounts uncovered. Point 3. The common property now belongs to me. Under insolvency statute, dissolution is lawful. She concludes, we request dissolution, appointment of a receiver, and homeowner ratification. Deidre's lawyer rises, hands trembling. Your Honor, my client denies all allegations. She's a devoted public servant. This is a vendetta. Judge Vickers leans forward. Counselor, do you have evidence contradicting the audit? We're preparing our own audit. You've had 7 days' notice. The judge replies coolly. Where is it? It's forthcoming. Sit down. Deidre suddenly stands, ignoring her attorney's whispers. Your Honor, may I speak? The judge sighs. Highly irregular, proceed. Deidre's voice quivers, then rises. This is a sham. Garrett orchestrated everything. He was never part of our HOA, now he's stealing our neighborhood with help from a corrupt system. The room murmurs. Gavel bangs. I gave 3 years of my life to that community, she cries. If I took compensation, I earned it. These people have no idea, Miss Kensington. The judge interrupts. You're not under oath. I advise you to stop. No. Someone needs to say it. Garrett's a manipulator. The side door opens. Detective Morrison enters with a uniformed officer. He approaches the bench and hands over a document. Judge Vickers reads, then looks directly at Deidre. Miss Kensington, there's an outstanding warrant for your arrest. Detective, proceed. Silence. You could hear a pin drop. Deidre Kensington, Morrison says calmly. You're under arrest for felony embezzlement, second-degree fraud, and perjury. You have the right to remain silent. Deidre's face drains of color. You can't lie. Have rights, she stammers. Her lawyer looks like he wants to sink into the floor. Morrison keeps reading the Miranda rights, and phased. The officer steps forward with handcuffs. Garrett, Deidre screams, twisting toward me. You did this. You destroyed my life. I'll fight this. You'll regret it. Click. The cuffs lock. The sound echoes through the silent courtroom like a period at the end of a very long sentence. She's sobbing as the officer leads her toward the side door, mascara streaking. The door shuts behind her, her muffled voice fading into silence. This isn't over, Deidre mutters, then silence. Judge Vickers adjusts her glasses. Well, she says dryly, that was enlightening. Nervous laughter ripples through the courtroom. She clears her throat and continues, her tone firm and final. Having reviewed the evidence, financial statements, forensic audit, and sworn affidavits, this court finds that Pinewood Estates Homeowners Association is demonstrably insolvent and engaged in systematic fraud. Her gaze sweeps toward the 3 board members seated in the back. They sink lower in their chairs. The petition for dissolution is hereby granted, she declares. I appoint attorney Lucia Brennan as receiver to wind down all remaining affairs and facilitate the transition of governance. A homeowner ratification vote will take place within 30 days. As for Mr. Holland's counterclaims of malicious prosecution and harassment granted. Damages hearing to be scheduled separately. She raises the gavel. Bang. Court is adjourned. The room erupts, not in chaos, but in pure celebration. Applause, tears, hugs, laughter. Relief so thick you can feel it. People rush forward to shake my hand. Some are crying. An elderly woman grips my arm tightly. You gave me hope again, she whispers, tears streaming down her cheeks. I didn't think I'd ever feel that. Lucia's already smiling, organizing next steps. Reuben Bear hugs me. Brother, you just toppled an empire. Caleb's filming, laughing. Mallory's scribbling notes as her phone lights up. 15,000 people watching the live stream. Outside. The courthouse steps are swarming with reporters. Camera flashes. Microphone shoved in my face. Mr. Holland, one asks. How does it feel? I take a breath. This isn't about winning, I say carefully. It's about 127 families taking back their neighborhood, about making sure no one else gets crushed by a corrupt system. Another reporter leans in. What's next for Pinewood Estates? I glance at Lucia. We're creating a community land trust, transparent, democratic, accountable. Exactly what it should have been from the start. The homeowners will control their own future now. A third asks, what's your message to others dealing with HOA abuse? I look directly into the camera. Document everything, every letter, every threat. Build alliances. You're not alone. Don't let them intimidate you with lawyers or fines. Remember, bullies thrive on silence. So make noise. As I speak, a police cruiser rolls by. In the back seat, Deidre stares out the window, sunglasses gone, face streaked with tears, staring into nothing. I don't watch. I'm talking with homeowners, shaking hands, accepting thanks. The noon sun glares off the courthouse limestone. The air smells of hot pavement and victory. A church bell rings 12 times. Reuben grins. Man, even action movies don't end this dramatically. I laugh. Hollywood couldn't write a villain that's self-destructive. Mallory checks her phone. Netflix should be calling any minute. That evening, I sit on my porch, the same one Deidre once tried to find me for. My daughter calls. Dad, you're everywhere. Are you okay? I watch the sunset behind my workshop. Better than okay, sweetheart. I'm free. We all are. Across the street, Travis and Mallory's kids play in the yard. No fear of citations. No inspectors lurking. Just kids being kids. A neighbor I've never spoken to waves, smiles. But Deidre's arrest isn't the end. It's just the beginning of cleanup. Over the next 2 weeks, things move fast. Detective Morrison widens his investigation. Subpoenaed records from 3 foreclosed properties show the board members who bought them used HOA funds to finance their bids. A perfect loop of corruption. 2 are arrested, the 3rd flips. Becoming a state's witness. Local news covers every development. Former HOA president faces 10 years. Board members charged in foreclosure scheme. Pinewood families to reclaim homes. Then the story goes national. CNN picks it up with then NPR. I do one NPR interview, then stop. This was never about fame. Lucia files motions to void the fraudulent foreclosure sales. The court agrees. 3 families get their homes back with clear titles. Deidre's LLC and accomplices are ordered to return every cent of their profits, $240,000, divided among the victims. The elderly widow who lost her home gets her keys back. She breaks down in Lucia's office. I thought I'd die homeless, she sobs. Thank you. Mallory releases her 30-minute documentary on YouTube at 0.3 million views in a week. Comments pour in. This happened to us in Phoenix. Our HOA did the same thing. How do we fight back? It sparks a movement. 3 other Oklahoma communities use our template to dissolve corrupt HOA letters. The state legislature drafts the HOA Transparency Act requiring independent audits, open meetings, and capping late fees. 30 days after the hearing, we hold the homeowner ratification vote at the clubhouse. 119 out of 127 households turn out. The result, 114 yes, 5 no. Daedra's old inner circle, bitter to the end. The dissolution becomes official. Pinewood Estates HOA ceases to exist. Tomorrow, the real work begins. But tonight, we celebrate. The public victory happened in 2 waves. The first was the courtroom rest. The second, 3 weeks later, was the one that truly mattered. We organize a town hall not in some rented VFW hall, but in our Pinewood Estates clubhouse. The same building Daedra once used for her real estate showcases while homeowners paid the bills. Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. The parking lot overflows. Cars line side streets. I count 140 people, more than the neighborhood even has homes. Folks from nearby communities have come to witness history. Inside, we've set up a podium, a microphone, a projector screen. Local TV crews are there not for scandal this time, but for renewal. Maliri's filming in the back. Ruben stands by the door, unofficial security. The energy is electric hopeful. I step to the podium. The mic squeals until Travis adjusts it. The room smells of fresh paint we repainted last week, covering the sterile beige with a warm cream everyone voted on. 3 months ago, I moved here for one thing, peace. A quiet place to build, to work, to grill on weekends. Instead, I got fines, threats, and police at my door. There's a low rumble of agreement, half the room nodding. But here's what I've learned, I continue. When systems are broken, you don't fix them by begging for change. You fix them by building something better. I click the projector. First slide appears, the old HOAS financials, redacted for privacy, but the numbers tell their own story. Under the old board's rule, dues were $385 per month. So where did all that money actually go? I advanced to the next slide. $18,000 paid to Daedra's LLC for management services that never existed. $47,000 blown on legal battles against homeowners over things like garden gnomes and mailbox colors. And $140,000 simply vanished. Embezzled. The room fell silent, and not from shock, but from collective anger. Here's what the Pinewood Commons Trust is proposing, I continued, clicking to the next slide. A straightforward, transparent budget, $45 a month. That's it. It covers the pool upkeep, shared landscaping, insurance, and a modest emergency reserve. No salaries, no perks. The board serves as volunteers. Every cent is traceable, full budget posted online, receipts open for anyone to review. Meetings live streamed. Any expense above $5,000 requires a community vote. I paused, letting the numbers sink in. That's an 88% reduction in dues, and this time, you'll actually know where your money goes. Applause began at the back. Ruben, of course, then swept through the room until everyone was standing. When it quieted, I continued. But this isn't just about fixing the finances. It's about rebuilding our culture. Next slide. Community principles. No more fines for paint colors, no more warnings about toys in the yard. No more intimidation letters about patio furniture. If something's truly unsafe, a structure hazard or fire risk, we'll handle it together, as neighbors, not as enforcers. More applause. An older man in the third row rose. What about the families who lost their homes? Are they really getting them back? I nodded toward Lucia. She stepped forward. 3 families have already received their deeds clear and clean. Daedra's LLC and her partners were ordered to return the homes and pay restitution. 2 more families are finalizing paperwork. By the end of the month, every victim will be made whole. The room erupted in tears, hugs, joy. The elderly widow who got her home back stood and waved, greeted by her own ovation. Travis took the microphone next. We've also started something new, he said, as the slide switched to the Pinewood Opportunity Fund. Using the $75,000 in damages Garrett donated, We're launching to renewable $5,000 a year scholarships for local kids for year awards. The first recipients will be announced next month. Parents wiped their eyes. Mallory followed. And we're taking this beyond Pinewood, she said. Our documentary has over 2 million views. 43 HOA letters from across the country have reached out for help. We're building a free online resource centered legal templates, organizing guides, everything we've learned. Cheers again. Then I introduced the candidates for the new trust board as 7 seats, 22 people ran. Voting was done online, verified, fully transparent. The results: a retired teacher, a nurse, a mechanic, a small business owner, a stay-at-home dad, an engineer, and a college student home for the summer. Real people, the true cross-section of our community. Each stood when called, greeted by applause. No jeers. No bitterness. This, I said, is what democracy looks like when it isn't rigged. I closed with one last thought. For months ago, Deidre Kensington told me I didn't belong here. She was wrong. We all belong here. And now, this neighborhood finally belongs to us. The place exploded, not polite clapping, but roaring, foot stomping, whistle blowing celebration. The clubhouse shook with it. Outside, through the windows, I saw children playing on the playground equipment that almost got fined out of existence. Afterward, nobody rushed to leave. People lingered for hours, talking, laughing, planning. Someone rolled out a grill. Someone else brought drinks. It turned into a spontaneous block party. The same clubhouse that once represented control now felt like freedom itself. Near sunset, Reuben handed me a beer. You did good, brother. I shook my head. We did good, all of us. He clinked his bottle against mine. To freedom from petty tyrants, I smiled. And to never becoming one ourselves. 30 days later, the Pinewood Commons Trust was fully operational. The first board meeting took place on a Wednesday evening, live-streamed, just as promised. Over 120 people tuned in. First decision: dues officially set at $45. Second, every cosmetic rule from the old covenant repealed. Paint your house purple if you want, the chair laughed. Put out an army of garden gnomes. Live your life. 2 weeks later, ground broke on the community garden. 2 acres of trust land open to everyone. 20 families signed up the first day. By summer, it was producing tomatoes, peppers, herbs, and squash. 300 pounds of food donated to the Tulsa Food Bank. First decision: dues officially set at $45. Second, every cosmetic rule from the old covenant repealed. Paint your house purple if you want, the chair laughed. Put out an army of garden gnomes. Live your life. 2 weeks later, ground broke on the community garden. 2 acres of trust land open to everyone. 20 families signed up the first day. By summer, it was producing tomatoes, peppers, herbs, and squash. 300 pounds of food donated to the Tulsa Food Bank. $240,000 restitution, 5 years probation, real estate license permanently revoked. Her Pinewood home sold at foreclosure, 60% of its original value, to a young couple with a toddler. They were thrilled to join a no-HOA neighborhood. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Local papers ran retrospectives: former HOA president jailed for fraud she once inflicted on others. Her mugshot appeared beside a photo of the thriving community garden. The contrast said it all. 2 former board members received 18-month sentences. The third, who cooperated, got probation and community service. All 3 permanently barred from ever serving on any HOA board again. The ripple effects kept spreading. That November, Oklahoma's legislature passed the HOA Transparency Act, bipartisan, signed by the governor. It mandated annual audits, public meetings, $50 cap on late fees, and clear notice for property boundary changes. Some started calling it Garrett's Law, though the real credit belonged to Lucia, who drafted most of it. By year's end, 3 more Oklahoma neighborhoods and several in Texas and Arizona dissolved corrupt HOA letters using our model. Mallory's documentary was picked up by a streaming service, now becoming a 6-part series. I chose to stay mostly behind the scenes. This story had grown beyond me. My workshop was finally complete. I began teaching weekend metalworking classes, 12 students, both kids and adults. We were building a pergola for the community garden next month. Over Christmas, my son and I made a bookshelf on the lathe. At Thanksgiving, my daughter said, "Dad, I think you found your purpose after the army." Maybe she was right. The legal defense fund I seeded with $25,000 had grown to $70,000 through donations. We'd already helped for families across the country fight back against abusive HOA letters. One woman from Phoenix emailed her HOA tried to foreclose over $400 in dues. We connected her with a lawyer. She won. Kept her home. Ruben and I still sit on my porch most evenings, cold beers in hand, watching the neighborhood come alive. Kids laughing in the street. Neighbors chatting across fences instead of filing complaints. You can see the place healing. Do you ever regret it? Ruben asks one night of stress. The court battles, the threats. I think for a moment, then shake my head. Not for a second. Spring rolls in. The old oak in my front yard, a more than a century and a half old, bursts into bloom again. Its branches no longer creak like a tired ship in a storm. They sway softly, at peace, like they've finally found rest. One Saturday afternoon, I'm sitting under it when a car pulls up. A young couple steps out, the late 20s, maybe. They look around, a little unsure. "Are you Garrett Hollins?" the woman asks. I stand, brushing sawdust from my jeans. "That's me." She glances at her husband, then back at me. "We just bought a place 3 blocks over," she says. "Our realtor told us you're the reason this neighborhood doesn't have HOA anymore. We wanted to say thank you. We couldn't afford any other area because of HOA fees." I smile, shaking their hands. "Welcome to Pinewood. You're going to love it here." As they drive away, still smiling, it hits me. This is what real victory looks like. Not the gavel drop, not the news cameras, not the villain in cuffs, though those moments matter. Victory is this: families living without fear. Kids playing without fines. Neighbors trusting each other again. A system that finally serves people instead of suffocating them. When I first moved here, I just wanted a quiet place to build a workshop and find some peace. I got that, but I also found something more. A community worth fighting for. So now, I'll leave you with a question. Got your own whole horror story? Share it in the comments. You're not alone, and your story counts. Together, maybe we can expose the next Daedra before she tears another neighborhood apart. And if you want to see more stories about ordinary people standing up to broken systems, hit that subscribe button. Next up, a homeowner in Florida who discovered her HOA president was running a Ponzi scheme. You won't believe how she handled it.